I've learned not to be precious about things. So like when I was a designer, it was very easy to feel hurt when someone didn't like that I used red instead of green. You want me to move that 5 pixels to the right? I think I've learned that because you always have a POV on things, right? You like things a certain way. You want to use a certain software. You want to talk to certain people. You want to not include other people. Being able to be more open. Is this right for the business? Is this right for everyone else? Or is this just something that I want to do or I think is better? Is, I think, one of the big things from being a designer and having to be like, I'm not going to feel bad if someone doesn't like this exact design that I've made. It's nothing against me. They have a certain picture in their mind. I didn't get it, but that's not on me.
Welcome to How I Grew This, where we dive into the world of digital marketing and connect with leaders in the space about how they're scaling, evolving, and growing.
Hi, everyone. I'm Adam, your host, with my always effervescent co-host, Amanda.
Hey there.
Today, we're joined by Lindiwe Stenberg, Growth Marketing Operations Lead at Venmo, although she told us just before recording she got a promotion this week. So we'll be talking about her previous role, her new role. She has a very interesting career. Started out in design, moved to marketing, then to healthcare, and now I understand you're getting a master's in healthcare marketing, which I didn't even know was a thing. So I want to unpack and hear about that. But first, give us a little bit of background of that arc. So your story, your arc, where you came from, and your new role. What are you up to?
So, like you said, I did start my life as a designer. I went to school and my major was multimedia design technology, which sounds a lot more exciting than it actually was. So that just really meant that it was across the board, right? So it was graphic design. We did some 3D modeling back in the days of Maya. I don't even know if that's around anymore. Sound design, and we did video sort of across the board just so that you got a good handle on sort of all of the disciplines of the motion graphics, graphic design type stuff. Because I thought I want to be an artist. So how can I make money? And then I realized I don't like working for people that aren't creative. And when you are creative, and you have non-creative people telling you what to do and giving you their point of view on your designs, that was just not for me. We need those people to work with those folks, and they're awesome. But I think it helps to have that design background to understand what can you do in how much time and what actually looks good. What actually looks good might not be what I think looks good, but from a design principles perspective, that might be that I need the logo to not be 50% of the page. Maybe it just needs to be 25. So after that, I did spend some time as a graphic designer. I moved into marketing somehow. I don't know how. I just got a job.
Isn't that how we all got here?
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, great, that sounds fun. I'll do trade shows. So I did trade shows and events, and experiential design, I think, was actually the name for a nutrition company. So that was really fun. That was kind of like my foray into the healthcare adjacent area. And then decided I want to be a nurse. So I went to school to become a nurse. That was also not a good idea. No one wanted me to be a nurse, me nor the patient. I was going to be not in my sweet spot area.
No, not for me either.
So I was like, okay, great. I guess I'll go back to marketing. And then I somehow fell into PayPal. I think partly because it was during COVID. And so they wanted to bring PayPal in stores in a touchless form. So they made QR codes, and they were like, QR codes at CVS. Oh, we need signage. We have to print stuff. Do you know how to print things? Yes, great, you're hired. So that was why I was hired at PayPal, was to do a lot of in-store, like physical placements. I did toolkits. I worked with agencies to come up with, how do we make actual physical kits for all of the different stores that we wanted to have QRC in? And then just worked my way around PayPal. I did some lifecycle marketing and then ended up in, as you mentioned, the growth marketing operations role at Venmo with my lovely boss. She is amazing. And then, just recently, Monday was officially the date. So my new job is chief of staff for our marketing VP, which is also a very operational role, but a little bit more focused on kind of the business side of the house. So a lot of things like budgets, but still ways of working. Culture is really important. So all over the place. And then to your marketing healthcare, well, I still like healthcare. I still think it's really important. So I found a school that let me not only get a marketing master's, but sort of emphasize the area that I wanted to focus on applying the marketing to. So they had some specific healthcare marketing classes. I actually took some actual health classes because it was like a build your own adventure type thing. It was at Rochester Institute of Technology, if anyone wants to go there. They have a really cool program where you can kind of build your own master's degree, which is awesome because I wanted my degree to fill the gaps of skills, like hard skills and knowledge that I might not have had because my original degree is not in marketing. So it was really fun to be able to be like, I don't know this, I want to know that. I don't know this, I want to know that.
Wow. Okay. Fascinating background. I brought up so many memories with the reference to the COVID times where, oh my gosh, everyone thinking about how to get those curbside experiences, those in-store experiences in a safe way. So I can see not only the thread between design that got you at PayPal, but also the health background, I'm sure played a component in that too. But your feelings on continued education. Is it truly just a desire to continuously be learning, or what has inspired you to continue to invest in your education?
Yeah, it's funny because I didn't really like school in high school and early college. I was like, oh, you just have to learn stuff and then I have to take a test. And then it's yeah, but it was more fun learning on the job. So if I had my way, I probably would not have gone to college and would have started in the mailroom at some company and then been a VP by now. Because I would much rather learn it by doing it and figuring it out because I have to know it. I'm going to learn it versus being tested on it, which felt a little bit more high stakes in a bad way. But I think being graded was a very different experience than learning it because I wanted to be good at it so that I could provide value for the job. So yeah, I think going back to school for nursing was because I knew I had to. I didn't enjoy it either.
In order to be a nurse.
Did you go all the way through the program? Because that's a pretty big program, right?
I got about halfway through it and was like, this feels like a lot of money and time that is not going to be helpful for me. And so I don't want to continue to spend the money and have large bills at the end for my education, loans and all those fun things. So I had to make the decision. I don't like quitting things. So that was really hard because there's always that investment loss that you feel well, I spent the money. I should just finish. I'm like, but really at the end, you're like, this sunk cost is a fallacy. So I'm going to go ahead and not.
Oh, good for you. A lot of people have problems with that.
Yes, it's hard. You've spent X dollars, even if it's $5, you've spent money. So you feel like that money should not go to waste.
But it's always best to get off the train, as they say. Or
Yep, I don't want to continue the waste. I think the healthcare marketing degree came at the right time. I think I needed some time off of the school situation, of being up against my own standards and grades and all of that. I was like, I just need to work for a while. I'll learn enough on the job. So I finished in May. That's crazy. That's when I graduated.
Wow, congrats. So many congratulations in order for all your recent achievements.
Thanks. It was very fun. Going to that graduation was cool because it was a large university and my undergrad was more of a tech school, I guess. I still got a bachelor's degree, but it wasn't a university kind of experience where I didn't stay in a dorm. I just went to class at night. So it was just very different than a university feel. So having that experience of walking down the aisle and graduating and getting my little diploma, that was really fun.
Yeah, it was meaningful. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was.
Amazing. I also want to dig into your career path that you have taken. You mentioned you fell into some things. Have any mentors played a role in that career path, or anything you want to highlight about how you got to where you are today now as Chief of Staff to VP of Marketing?
I wish that as a younger person, I had been told about mentors. I think mentors felt very exclusive and that you were privileged because you had a mentor versus myself going out there and being like, hey, I wondered about blah, 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 and then continuing some kind of mentorship relationship. I have been lucky in the past, I think it's been 3 years, to get a couple of amazing mentors. There is a program, and I will give them a little shout out because they're cool. So there's a program called Oh Hello. They are awesome. You guys should look it up. ohhello.io.
I was hoping it was IO because for the rhyming sake,
Yes,
that would be great.
Yes, exactly. It is an awesome program. So they've morphed a little bit into something that is more focused on as a benefit for companies. So the HR or whoever the benefits department is would work with Oh Hello, and they provide mentorship for your employees. They have a roster of amazing people from all across industries at all levels. Super cool. So my two mentors, actually, I think one of them might still be with the program, but I was able to develop that relationship with both of them before it actually morphed into something a little bit more corporate or for corporations. The company's not corporate. They're super cool. So it was actually supposed to be more of like a one-on-one. So you would look at the mentors and you'd say, I'd love to have 30 minutes with Joe Schmo that works at XYZ company. And so you would find a spot on their calendar and everyone kind of made their own hourly cost. So some were 25, some were 125, depending on like who they were and their background and what they felt like they were worth. So I found a couple of people that I really loved their background. I thought they would be really helpful in helping me kind of figure out what I wanted next in my career. And I still meet with them, like usually quarterly or at least biannually, because I was able to develop those relationships. And they've been so helpful when you're second guessing yourself or going, is this the right path forward? Like, how should I be thinking about that next step in my career? So to have that sounding board, I think has just been really awesome.
Have they stayed professional or have they become more of like a personal relationship?
One of them I feel like is a little more professional and the other one is a little more like a personal relationship, more of a pal. I don't know that either one of us really talked about changing the tone or anything like that. I think it just kind of morphed naturally because of their personality maybe, or the time commitment they could give me. So again, I don't really know how that happened.
I'm assuming that because one's more professional, one's more personal, you rely on them for different things. Which one do you say is more helpful for your career and what you've achieved in this new promotion?
I think in different ways. So I think the one that's a little bit more professional has been really helpful in crystallizing what that next step would look like and how it would help my career, like giving me specific ways of thinking about it, specific questions. They know corporate very well. And so some of that background political maneuvering.
Necessary evil.
Yep, we love it. They've really helped me think through that. While the personal one, I think, helps more in the how am I feeling myself about this. Both of them, I think, ask difficult questions, but the one that I have a little bit more of a personal relationship with is able to say, yeah, but do you feel good about it? Like, how are you actually gut feeling right now? Like, what was your first gut instinct? Because that is something just to note. We don't have to go with it, but just make sure that that's noted in the decisions you're making.
Oh, I love that. I was thinking that as you were talking, it's like, where's that gut instinct? But I'm glad to hear that you have connected with some really helpful and meaningful mentors in recent years. And it sounds like they've gotten you to a great position. So thinking about the fact that you're now in this chief of staff role and most recently in a marketing operations role, I'm triggered back to when you were talking about design and design principles of how it might not have to necessarily be what you think looks good, but what follows that principle or gives the best result. So can you tell me a little bit about how your design background shows up in your work or how it leads to any superpowers that have led you to where you are today?
I would say I've learned not to be precious about things. So like when I was a designer, it was very easy to feel hurt when someone didn't like that I used red instead of green.
I personally attached to your design.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, because your taste is involved, right? It's like, you don't like my wallpaper? Like, what? Yeah.
You want me to move that 5 pixels to the right? That's awful. So I think I've learned that because you always have a POV on things, right? You like things a certain way. You want to use a certain software. You want to talk to certain people. You want to not include other people. And I think being able to be more open on, but is this right for the business? Is this right for everyone else? Or is this just something that I want to do or I think is better? Is, I think, one of the big things from being a designer and having to be like, I'm not going to feel bad if someone doesn't like this exact design that I've made. It's nothing against me. They have a certain picture in their mind. I didn't get it, but that's not on me.
I work with a lot of small companies, and when they work with designers, a lot of times what I see them doing is using the designers as a proxy, almost like a therapist on their value proposition of like, how am I going to come across to the market when they're trying to figure out how they even market what they have? As someone who's seen both sides, how would you recommend that the executive who may or may not realize what they're doing kind of approach that pixel pushing that is helpful and not just like therapy?
Yeah, I've definitely worked with plenty of non-designers, again, at all levels, so we're not going to point fingers at anyone, that feel like if they don't have a point of view or if they don't ask the designer to make a change, that they have not done their job. Whereas I like to counsel, especially like my marketers who, again, many of them do not also have a design background. I have to counsel them on here is how you speak to a designer. And if you like what they've done, that's okay. Because they are the ones that should be coming back to you based on your brief or your question or your, I don't know, I like pink, what they think is best because they are the skilled one at this discipline. So if you don't really care and it comes back to you and you're like, I mean, I guess this is fine. You can trust that they have given you something that will work because they are the expert. So you can go, yeah, I love it. Let's go. Or maybe, hey, have you thought about this? Could we do this? And then when they come back and go, actually, we thought through that and we tried it, or that's a bad idea because X reasons, you can go, okay, great, done.
When you say that, I'm a watch guy, and I think it was Louis XIII, King of France, had a watch made for him. And so the watchmaker brought it to him. As a king, he needs to find a flaw in this watch. And so it was Roman numerals around the dial. And he said the 4 was an IV. And he said the 4 should be 4 across, which is not correct Roman numerals. But to this day, all fine watches that are Roman numerals have a 4 with 4 lines, not the IV, because this is argued about, because the king had to tell a designer something was wrong to fix it.
Wow, that is a great callback. And it's true. I mean, it's true outside of design too. And I'm sure that's now going to be a part of your world, right? It's like, how do we make sure that cross-functional teams work together in such a way where we're not just throwing opinions out so that it looks like we had one, but actually just being efficient and getting towards our desired outcome. But that probably is a bit of your world too.
I feel like always has been through operations, through marketing. And I will say I've always had a hybrid marketing ops role, even though it's not officially my role, just because I like to make things more efficient and quick and work better. So I'm just like, let's fix this. And the team's like, okay. But I think I see that over and over, right? Because product has a point of view. Leadership has a point of view. The designers have a point of view. UX has a point of view. Research has a point of view. Marketers have a point of view. Agency has a point of view. Everyone has a point of view. So I think it makes it a little bit exciting, I think, for designer when you have guardrails, because not only can you push back and go, well, these are actually the guardrails, so we can't do that. But also I feel like it is able to focus your creativity so much better than being like, I don't know, do whatever you want. Because then where do you start? And then where do you end? You need that kind of like bumper on the side to bump up against, be like, oh, no, I shouldn't go over there. I can do this because it's right here.
Because we are talking about creatives ultimately, and there's too much creative space out there to be able to tap into.
I was just saying, before we move away from design, because I know that was a past, but I feel like we hold those lessons closely and think about the future. So before we move off of design onto what you're doing today, give me a quick take on how you think AI is going to impact the future of design, high level.
I see it as a helper. I don't see it as a designer replacement. I think across the board, I don't see AI replacing a lot of humans just because there's so much human that goes into the AI to get out what you want. Like until we get AI implanted in our brain and it can see what we're seeing in our head, I don't think it's easy to be like, hey, AI platform, make me a with our brand, can't say this. Oh yeah, we probably need to say it like this, and this should be this. There's so many inputs that goes into a creative design that I don't think a human can get it all into the AI prompt to give you out what you need. So it's going to still take you like 20 minutes to get the thing, which I think is helpful.
To go back and forth. It's like a collaborator, or like you were talking about, efficiency is key, more efficient through workflows, potentially. But there is still that human element that is critical for really anything that you're trying to get done.
I think it can cut down on like production costs. So we might not need as many brand photo shoots. We might not need to do as many B-roll video shoots. But it does not mean that it will replace the designer that is putting everything together and coming up with the idea.
Yeah, no, I agree. We hope. But for now, moving a little bit into the work that you've been doing recently, I'm very curious, especially with your most recent role in marketing and MarTech and growth and ops. Can you tell me a little bit more about what tools you think make companies most effective, or highlight some of the key components of a great marketing stack?
I think there is something to be said about finding the balance between consolidation and actually finding the right platform for the right use case. So I know a lot of times we talk about, well, we should consolidate everything. We shouldn't have two platforms that do this, then two platforms that do that, or this one works for this side of the house and this side works for this side of the house, but we should make sure that we only have one. I do think there is definitely some cost savings and operational savings if you have a one platform, but I have yet to find one platform to rule them all. Like there's no ring. There's no gold ring from Sauron anywhere, right? There are specific platforms that do really well at one thing, and then there's some platforms that do decent at two. So I think it comes down to the business and understanding the capabilities of both those platforms to decide, do I want to spend X dollars more to get a really good platform for the one thing? Or do I want to spend X dollars less to get a decent platform at the two things, knowing that it might mean more resources? It might mean additional QA.
Digging through multiple dashboards and reports.
Yes. So I think there's something to be said for really understanding the capabilities of the platforms that you want, and then mapping that back to what's important. Is the really good platform at the one thing good enough? And then we can maybe have another platform that's decent at two others and the cost savings there. Or do we need three platforms that are like amazing at the three things? Or just the one that's kind of half-assed at three?
I have a question that is similar to what you just said. You may have already answered it, but as a person who's sold SaaS to a marketing professional like you a lot, the question I'd like to ask, unbiased advice you can give to salespeople or marketing people for that matter, that are trying to help you decide on the right product for your organization, how would they go about helping you make those decisions? Like if you could say, wave a magic wand and say, here's some advice I'm giving to the salespeople and the marketing people that are trying to reach me, what would you say to them?
So the two things that I look at a marketing platform, any kind, whether it's a CRM, whether it's MMP, whether it's CDP, all of the things, I'm looking for, well, maybe three things. Number one, it's eventually going to be, what is the cost, right? But I can't ask you that first because there are so many elements that go into the cost that kind of has to be the last thing we talk about. I think if we're going from bottoms up, number two would be, how marketer friendly is your UI? I don't care about my engineers. I don't care about my software developer. All those people that might be in there doing even my MOPS team. No offense, I don't care about them because they'll figure it out. Like they just have a different brain than my marketers. They'll need to go into this platform at some point in time, pull a report, fix a journey, update a link. Like they need to be able to use it. And so the UI needs to be marketer friendly. And then I think first thing is, what problem is this solving for me? So as someone that would come to me and be like, I have this cool product, I'd be like, that sounds fun, but I don't really have a use case. I don't really have a problem with that. So thank you, but maybe later. Because we all have problems. Every marketer has a problem they would like solved.
99 or so.
So finding out what issues you have, what do you want to be able to do that you can't? What do you want to be able to do better that you already can? And then also, what do you love that you already have? Because I want to make sure that we meet the you love part. Because if I can't give you what you love, but I can fix the other problems, as a marketer, I'd be like, the problems are fine because I love this more than my problems.
So read that back to you so I can make sure I synthesize it. Help me understand that it's actually solving a problem for me. Help me understand that my people can use it. And then what is this going to cost? The value exchange.
Mm-hmm.
Got it.
Yep.
So let's say someone comes to you and they uncover a use case that you realize is indeed a problem, but maybe you hadn't been thinking about that problem from the beginning of the year. Do those slot in, or do you take things like, hey, this year, I'm going to set out to solve these three problems. And even if someone comes in and says they can solve problem number 4, that's not a priority.
I think it would depend on the problem, right? So if it is indeed like a MarTech stack that is not working for us based on XYZ use cases, that's really going to depend on where we are in our current MarTech stack contracts. I'm sure every company is different on the length of those contracts, right? So we can't come in and be like, well, platform X isn't working, so we want to replace it with Y. MarTech will be like, great, we still have like a year and a half left on the contract, so too bad. That's one area. But I think the other is we do try to have some kind of roadmap on where we want to go, either with current MarTech thinking about new MarTech, what problem use cases we have with MarTech that we're trying to solve that are important for the next year. But we want to make sure that we're allowing pivotable space. So if something comes up and we're like, oh my gosh, we did not realize that this was going to be a big issue. And it is all of a sudden because we're now as a business pivoting to XYZ. Oh dear, we have to make sure that we can, fix this linking issue. So we got to talk about, is this MMP right? Like, do we need a new one? Do we need 5? So that I think is another sort of area that comes in, and then we have to decide prioritization, what goes, what stays, and then are we able to pivot quickly?
Of course, all the buffer and the room to change strategy, which can always happen. So when we think about the MarTech stack overall, can you talk to our listeners, perhaps, that are trying to get their MarTech stack built? Can you talk to me about some of the foundations there or things that you have found to be most critical to get in place early, or what to be thinking about when trying to get your stack set up in those early days?
Yeah. I mean, CRM, obviously, if you want to send communications to your customers, you need a CRM system of some kind. Whether or not that is integrated into the CRM for your salespeople, up to you. I don't have a super strong POV on that. You need some place for data. Is that a CDP? Is that something that is just event-based that's integrated into your app? And so that's all you're using. And maybe you have a data lake or data warehouse somewhere else. I do think an MMP is important. Thank you, Brian.
Here to serve.
I mean, obviously, that's so important for tracking, right? Whether that's owned channels, whether that's paid, whether that's both, depending on where you are in your marketing growth period. Maybe you're a baby startup and you're like, I don't have money for paid. Well, I need some owned linking. Or maybe you're a huge Fortune 100 or Fortune 5 and you're like, I need all of the linking things. So I think that's really important. And then, of course, one thing that a lot of MarTech folks don't talk about is your design software. You using Figma? You using Adobe? Using both? Using Canva? I mean, do we need 12? Maybe not. And then lastly is your project management software. Please use one. I don't have a POV on which one you need to use, but that is so integral into everything else because that is how you can manage how much everyone is using stuff and how they're using it because it's tied back to a project, which then can tie back to your money. And I think both the design software and the PM stuff is stuff people don't really think about. They're like, I don't know, use Figma. I'm like, is that right though?
Yeah, that doesn't come up as much. You're right. Yeah.
And then PM software, I mean, people don't care. They're like, what's PM software?
Well, this is like the Atlassian or...
Yeah, Jira. I don't care if it's Jira or Asana or Monday.com or Basecamp. I don't know if anyone uses that anymore. Workfront, like if you're an Adobe person, let's get all the things together. We'll just be happy-go-lucky. But you need something to track your projects. Otherwise, again, that cross-functional stuff that we talked about earlier, nope, there's no such thing. I don't know what you're working on.
You have a wide and deep view of the things a marketing organization uses. What are the biggest opportunities and the biggest threats that a company in that space faces right now?
Ooh, that's a fun question. Are we talking like MarTech specific, like figuring out our stack, or...
You get pitches a lot. People are coming to you with pitches like, hey, this company can do this. It's like, you AI gen this, blah, blah, blah. What are the ones where you're like, oh, that's really interesting. That's a really good idea. I see where they're going with that. I'm interested in that. And then what are some of the companies you're like, oh boy, get in line and that company's not going to be around in the future? Like, where do you see it's like, oh, we really need help with this? And then where's like, okay, yeah, you're one of 100 that have reached out to me today.
I think where I focus and is exciting when someone comes to me and is like, hey, I have a thing, want it, is how automated can I make this thing? This platform, how automated is it? Do I set it up once and I can press a button and just like make slight tweaks and then it'll do all the things I want? Whether that is automatic notifications or automatic project creation from like a project management software, or if it's automated journey setup from like a CRM software and I can just update real quick, like the subject line for this email and then you'll send it and I can forget that it was even there. That to me is so important, especially with all this AI stuff. Like I want it to give me suggestions on, oh, you should make sure that this person knows. You know, did you talk to your PM? Did you send them an email? Or, hey, we saw that this journey is not getting clicked on. Have you thought about changing the segment? Have you thought about changing the creative? Have you thought about doing some subject line testing? Like, I don't think it's going to get that granular on what the system will come back to me with, but some kind of automation and suggestions based on what the platform is currently doing is very exciting when a new company comes to me is like, we can do this.
That makes sense. And then what are the ones where you're like, uh-oh, like not going to respond, like just doesn't make sense?
So I do get a lot of CDP folks. I get composable CDPs, which is like one of the cool words that people like to talk about. Like, we have AI in our CDP now.
Everything has AI now. It's everywhere. Can't be stopped.
Like, yeah, but so does this other one. And they all have AI. And
is that because a CDP is now like rote technology that you've chosen, you've standardized, you're not going to swap it out? It's kind of like your cloud infrastructure, like it's there.
Well, it is connected to everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm curious what factor, if any, being in the finance industry plays in the types of decisions you make about the partners and tools that you work with.
That's an interesting question. I don't know, to be honest, that it does. Obviously, fintech, much like healthcare, is a fairly highly regulated industry. And so there are some things we need to think about, but I think it's different from healthcare in that there's like no HIPAA stuff where we have to be really careful about like the data that we have.
PHI and...
Yeah, and how we market. I mean, since we do have like teen accounts at Venmo, we do need to be very careful about marketing to teens and also their data. I mean, I think everyone has to be very careful with PII stuff, of course. And then the financial data, right? We need to be careful with that as well, just across the board, being a fintech company. But I don't think we need to worry like healthcare. Do you have HIPAA stuff in place, right? We just need to know, do you have data security, which everyone should at this point? So to answer your question, I don't know that it really does, at least not that I've seen so far.
Okay. What would you say are you most excited about in your work at Venmo right now? Obviously, there's a role change and everything like that going on, but anything you're looking forward to or proud of that's in motion?
Well, we did launch a very cool campaign. It has launched, so I can talk about it, with a sweepstakes. We call it, I think we talk about Stash. Yeah. If you open your Venmo app, hopefully you will get our cool in-app message, and it will talk about the Stash sweepstakes. I am not cool and not young, so I think the young people talk about Stash because we have a stash of money. I think this is where it came from. Anyway, you can see I'm old.
Got it. Okay.
So we're talking about your Venmo stash. So you get cash back, you get, depending on the products, like a bundle that you have, there's merchant bundles that if you shop there with and you pay with Venmo, you get cash back. And of course, the stash sweepstakes where you could get a whole big stash of money. It's very cute. It's very fun. I really like how the creative turned out. I think it's really awesome. It was a very big campaign. It has above the line, it has paid media, all of our own channels, really cool social stuff. And I think that will continue to trickle out. So follow Venmo. But yeah, it's really fun. And it was a massive effort. I think we did it in like record time. So super proud of the team for getting all that out the door.
So it's like a loyalty program.
In a sense, it's not officially a loyalty program. I believe we might be working on something, TBD on when the heck that is. It could be interpreted that way, but it's more focused on these like bundles of merchants. And if you have these products in place versus like a loyalty system where you think about tiers, almost like you would with like your airline miles, your gold, silver, platinum, or hotels or things of that nature.
Oh, interesting. So it's closer to like a points back system or a cash back system from a credit card. Interesting. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
Love it. And then any lessons from your seat that you sat in? Obviously, with these big campaigns, there's a lot of cross-functional motion and a lot of ducks to get in a row. Anything that came through this time as a lesson that you could share with our listeners?
So this is also coming from my very operational brain, but I think project management skills are so important in these large cross-functional campaigns. I think a lot of people, marketers especially, that's not necessarily their strong point because they're marketers, right? That's just how their brains work, which is nothing against them.
Case in point.
To be really helpful to hone a bit. And again, no one needs to go out and get their PMP like I do and be all nerdy about project management. But I think understanding risks, dependencies, how to mitigate those risks, how to get ahead of things, how to share out timelines, how to, manage up, which is a lot of what managers do, would be really helpful in kind of these large campaigns. Because again, there's so much coming from so many different sides. Executives have an idea of what they want and how they want and when they want. Product is always involved because we're talking about a product. And then we have creative, our agency, and also, all of the marketers that have to be involved. So I think just thinking about things in a more like project management type way of A, B, C, C's dependent on B and B hasn't happened yet, so we can't really move forward, would be helpful, I think, in managing all of the chaos, because big campaigns are going to be chaos, kind of like events. Something will go wrong.
Totally. You got to roll with the punches.
Right? You can manage as much as you can up front. I just think that makes it so much easier and more fun, because then it's not as stressful, right? And you want to have fun at work.
I love that. Thank you for saying that.
Exactly.
Well, you've covered a lot in your illustrious career. Can't wait to see which next degree you pursue next in your spare time, while also being very busy making wonderful things happen over at Venmo.
And again, congratulations on the new promotion. That's great.
Yes, thank you. I'm very excited. It'll be fun. No one else besides finance loves budgets besides me.
Have fun with budgets. Hey, that's what we're here for.
Someone needs to like budgets. May as well be me.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and thanks to our listeners.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you so much for listening. If you like the show, please leave a review wherever you listen to this and share with someone trying to grow their career or their business. Until next time, keep growing.